So I'm in the mortgage business, and I was curious about this. Do you remember what interest rates or home prices were at any of the houses we moved in? What we live in, 5 or 6 houses growing up?
Yeah.
Do you remember any?
Well, one was up to 17%.
That was arrested. That had to be arrested because that's the 80s.
Yeah, and man,
and you built the first house.
The first house, the house that we lived in Joliet,
Yes,
cost me minus 2,000 because, first of all, you may not remember this, but Joliet was a segregated town.
No, I had no idea.
Yeah, well, there was no black kids at Joliet West, and there was no black people living in the neighborhood that we lived in.
You were the first one, weren't you?
Well, what I did was, all of us football players, we all lived in apartments. And the people from Mobile started moving in town, and they were moving into houses. So I thought, wow, this houses sound all right. And this one guy was doing what they call an owner completion. He was like painting his house, and that was part of his down payment.
Oh, okay.
So we got to talking, and I said, well, I've got mad skills in house building. I thought I did. Right. So I'll just get one of these by the lot, and I did, like the plumbing, the windows, the drywall, the bricks. And all
so you're doing
stuff.
even more to get more of a break.
That was my down payment.
Yeah.
So the house cost like $36,000, and it was like
1972ish.
Yeah, it was like 2,000 square foot. It was that big tri-level.
Yeah.
Without the basement, it was like 2,000 without the basement. And so the house was 36,000, and when I closed the deal, I took a 32,000 mortgage, and they gave me 2,000 back because of all my work credits. So I didn't put any money in the house.
Nice.
It was all work credits.
Nice.
And so the lady that was selling the lots for the builder, she was moving out of town. So she had told me that they weren't going to sell any lot to a black guy. So, but she said she was leaving town, so if we closed the deal at her house, she's moving, so she didn't care.
She didn't care, right?
So we closed the deal on the lot at her house. And so then I'm out working on the house on weekends.
Right.
And the builder comes past. So I'm doing the wiring at this time, and he said, he said, you're moonlighting, huh? I said, no, not really. I said, I'm wiring the house. He said, this is Mr. Allen's house. I said, I'm Mr. Allen. He almost threw up right there on the floor. And he said, you're Mr. Allen? I said, yeah, I'm Mr. Allen. This is my house. And because he didn't know that a black person had it. So,
well, you know what? If you'd done it in a suit, maybe he wouldn't have thought that you weren't Mr. Allen. You should have looked more legitimate, so he didn't think you were just a laborer.
Well, if I had a suit on, he would have asked me why was I in Mr. Allen's house? Was I a friend of his or something? So, yeah, he didn't have any idea.
Wow. Well, good for that woman. Like, she got paid and she was out of town.
Right. She hooked me up and she left town. And
that's awesome.
And I had never wired a house before. And I was working for a guy who had never had a black employee. Miss Vern Scaff. He was from Victoria, Texas.
Oh.
And when they first hired me there, he didn't think that he was going to like me. Because he had never had a black employee. He was from Texas.
And he's from Texas.
From Victoria, Texas. And after I started working for him, I was coming up with good ideas. And it turns out that he actually liked me better than he liked the guy I replaced. So he had a son who was an electrician. And so he told me that if I get stuck on any electrical part, he'd have his son come over and take a look. So I got the whole thing wired, but I couldn't figure out how to get the fuse panels on the bus, which is the easiest part of it. But they had turned the electricity on by then.
Ooh.
So he came over and he said, I can't believe you wired this whole house and you can't figure this last part out. I said, well, the last part, the electricity's on.
Yeah.
And it turns out,
you don't want any mistakes.
Right. And it turns out that it was the easiest part of it. But
yeah. Okay, so the last story. Mr. Badass Army veteran survives the war. Comes home.
Talking about Sarge.
Sarge
That gave me this hat.
Yes.
So people can say, thank me for my
service. Thank you for your service. So we're happy. So Troy and I come down, because he's coming into Orlando. Troy and I come down. I think we even picked him up. Yeah, we did. We picked him up from the airport. and it was really cool to watch everybody thank him for his service.
Yeah.
And the three of us go out. It's the first time the three of us have ever gone out as adults.
And he had his uni on. It was
Yeah.
He was all cut with his uniform on.
Yeah. I mean,
because they made him put on some new dress blues. I call them dress blues because they didn't want him coming home with blood all over their uniforms.
Right.
So he had a spick and span.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, well, they don't want you walking around with blood all over.
Yeah. That's not a good picture.
Yeah.
So we hit the bars in Orlando.